Happy Friday, everybody. Today is Friday, May 28th, 2021, and this is your weekly planning video. I'll be back next week. We'll talk a little bit about our the market update. We'll try to wrap up a little bit about what all the craziness that happened in this week's market, and we'll, as always, forecast a little bit, look at what we're going to be watching into next week and see how that goes. So for today, I want to go and give you some more thoughts on planning. These are the things that we're going to be talking about going forward in our meetings. So let's talk about those. I did hold my first in-person meetings this week, so if that's something you're comfortable with, please let me know. The reopening does play a huge part in what we're doing. So we have been very blessed over the last number of years, actually, in our practice. We've been able to do these Zoom calls. It's obviously become second nature to us right now, but it's something that does put another hour in our quiver. We're not going to be sort of stuck with a time or a place or even what the weather's doing to decide how we can get together. So that's something you can look at as something good does come from this. So I am interested, in fact, that's just Zoom, but what do you think might have something good that came out of this whole pandemic and something out of COVID? I'd love to hear it. Let me know what you think, something that good came out of all of this. So planning. We have a lot to talk about. And we've spoken about this a lot. Taxes, of course, play a huge role in what we do. And after we get the budget from the president in the next couple of days, and talk really starts to heat up again about what policy is going to look like, and specifically tax policy is going to look like, please have it in mind that we want to get together with you and your tax advisor potentially, and let's talk about what kind of higher level planning that we can do to make this the best that we can for you to keep as much money as you can. I want to talk today about 4 specific changes that the Biden tax plan is talking about. Again, some of the, and then really talk about some of the planning ideas that we might be able to work with them. We're going to talk about more about this as the year progresses, and we'll do all that we can to be ready regardless of what actually passes through Congress. So first of all, the top ordinary tax rate will move up from 37% to 39.6%. This is a confusing one because we're really not clear yet. Is that individual or is it joint? So we honestly just don't know. Hopefully we'll find that out soon. I've read a lot that says it's individual, a lot that says it's joint, so we'll see how that goes. There's also talk for some additional Social Security taxes that go in there for income over $400,000. So we just have to see how this shakes out. It's hard to believe, but remember, these rates are actually still lower than they were in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even sometimes in the 90s. So I think that that is some misleading of a statistic, but regardless, taxes may be going up on income, and we'll just have to see what comes of that. What can we do to plan for that? So some of the ideas that are around to consider is accelerating income into 2021, because the thought is that if they do pass this, that it's not going to be 2021 taxes, it's going to be 2022 taxes. Again, some things to think about, we just don't know that yet. Also, continue what we've talked about before, retirement plans, contributions, philanthropy, even consider doing donor advised funds. We've talked about that before. Tax-free income, tax-free bonds for income. This is also something that goes beyond. There's also one other thing that goes beyond the normal asset allocation that we talk about all the time, and that may be a little bit of what we call asset location. Where are your assets, and what type of assets are in the retirement accounts that are tax deferred or tax-free growth, or the taxable accounts? So that's something we're going to have to examine, talk about tax deferred growth options for your investments as well. So that's a lot going on with the ordinary income rates. Next is a big one for some, the increase in the long-term capital gains rates for income over $1 million. So again, this doesn't apply to everyone, but from income over $1 million, it's going to go, capital gains rates are estimated to go from 20% to 39.6%. This is something, again, only affects those people with $1 million or more in income, but if it does happen, it'll be more than doubling the capital gains rates, and that will make a difference, or close to doubling the capital gains rates. How do we plan for this? As I just mentioned, we'll have to manage income, and we'll when to take those gains. So we're going to be obviously a lot more active tax loss selling, tax gains as well. Depending on the next item I'm about to mention, we'll have to see what estate planning comes into that as well. Speaking of, there is talk again about eliminating the step-up basis on death. This allows the heirs to inherit investments without inheriting the tax liability and the cost basis. So there is a $1 million exemption that's being talked about. But again, this is a big deal. It comes up every few years. We don't know if we'll get any traction this year, but that is something we're looking at. How do we plan for this? Again, this comes into more active tax basis management. That means you may, as you go along, you may take gains as you go along and sell and pay those taxes as they go. A lot of this really comes down to transferring who's going to pay the taxes as opposed to what those taxes are going to be. So again, we'll just have to see how that goes. Finally, the change in the unified gift and estate tax exemption is being talked about as going back down from the $11.7 million per person right now to $3.5 million per person. This is an important thing that comes up a lot. The way to plan for this is to change your gifting strategy, do some more aggressive estate planning. Many of you are in this category, so let's talk about this. We'll talk about it as it comes along. Overall, there's a lot of things that are on the table right now. We just don't know what's going to happen, but these are things we've got to talk about. We've got to start thinking about how to plan for them. What's important is that we'll keep you informed as what's going on, working with your tax advisor. We'll figure out how to plan for it. Like everything, we're going to keep talking to you about your goals and your plans. We're going to do our best to work with you to pursue those. Speaking of pursuit, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial start of summer and the home of the Indianapolis 500. So watch the Indianapolis 500 for car number 21. That's the Ed Carpenter racing car. Renus VK will be driving the number 21. It is sponsored by Bitcoin. Now, I don't know what you think about that, but it is interesting to see what does that really mean. Does that have any implications when you've got Bitcoin showing up in the Indianapolis 500? So now again, more importantly, Memorial Day is much more than barbecues and racing. It is, of course, the day that we really stop and think and thank those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, paid the ultimate price for this country and the freedom that we have. So much like we talked about during Military Appreciation Month, this is the time where we really want to express our appreciation to those in the military, those who have served, those who are serving, and those who have given their lives for the freedom of this country. So again, thank you very much. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Have a great time. And again, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.